When I started out as a data analyst, my workflow was painful. Every day, I would get multiple data files in different formats. I would copy paste into a master workbook, update my formulas, check my charts, and hope nothing broke. It worked, but it was exhausting over time. My file size grew massive, it became slow, and every copy paste felt like a gamble. Then I discovered Power Query. It changed everything. No more copy paste, no more bloated file sizes, and with just a refresh button, I could update all my reports automatically. And today, I'm going to show you how. Power Query is Excel's data automation tool. Think of it as your data pipeline. It extracts data, cleans and transforms it, and then loads it into Excel for analysis and visualization. The best part is, once you set it up, it runs with a single click. Now, here's data worth 8 months, but it's messy. Some files are in CSV. April came in as an Excel workbook. May data is a PDF, and June came in as a text file. This is exactly the kind of situation I used to dread. Now, to make sense of this, I'll create a brand new workbook. Think of this as my control center. I'll connect every raw file from here, transform it in Power Query, and bring everything into one consolidated table. That way, I never have to touch the raw files again. I simply have to refresh this one report. Let's start by connecting the April data, which came in as an Excel workbook. Head over to Data, Get Data, from File, from Excel Workbook. Before we move on, let's pause here for a moment. Every time you connect to a new data source, the first thing you see is this navigator pane. On the left, it lists the objects inside that file. So in an Excel workbook, you typically see sheets and tables. In a PDF file, you might see pages or tables that have been detected by the navigator pane. Clicking any item shows a preview of the data on the right, so you can check that you've actually picked the right item. At the bottom, you essentially have three options. Load sends data straight into Excel without making any other changes. Transform data opens Power Query Editor, where you get to clean up and prepare your data. Cancel simply closes the window. For this tutorial, I'll select Transform Data because I need to prep my data before we finally load it into an Excel sheet. After I click Transform Data, Power Query Editor opens. Very important first step is to validate your data types. Data types tell Excel how to treat a column, whether it's a date, text, or number. So I always check that my date columns are dates, my region column is a text, similarly with my product column, and my units and revenue columns are whole numbers. You can change the type by clicking the data icon at the left of the column header. For the CSVs, instead of importing one at a time, I'll use the From Folder option. This means any new CSV dropped into the folder will automatically be included in future updates. But firstly, I need to set that up quickly. Now, back in Power Query, I'll head to New Source, File, Folder, and browse to the folder containing our CSV files. Once that's completed, you should see a navigator pane like this one, illustrating all the items in the new data source we've recently connected to. And based on the extension column, we have 4 CSV files as expected. Since everything checks out, I will click Transform Data. I see several columns, but I only need the content column, so I'll delete the others and just keep the content. Next, I'll click on the small icon on the right-hand side of the column. This tells Power Query to open each file and combine them. When I click it, I get another navigator pane with a preview of the data. That way, I can confirm that the structure is exactly the same as the April sales data. Since everything looks good, I'll continue. Once the data is combined, I'll quickly double check that all the months have been included. To do this, I'll click the filter drop down at the top of the column, and here I can see all months listed. Perfect. For the PDF file, we will follow the same approach: new source, file, PDF, and browse to the folder containing our PDF file. As earlier indicated, each time you connect to a PDF file as your source, the navigator pane will show you tables and pages detected in that file. And in this case, we have 4 tables, and the first table has dates running all the way to 9th May. And these dates are carried on to the second page. And unfortunately, we lose our column headers as we move on to the next pages. And this is something that we will have to clean in Power Query later on. So just to head over back to the first page, we have dates, region, product, units, and revenue. That data carries on to the third page and carries over to the fourth page. So in this case, I will select multiple files, and I will select all these 4 tables containing the data that I need to import. Once they load into Power Query, I'll rename each table so they're easy to identify. This keeps things organized in case I need to come back later and make changes to the individual tables. Next up is June's data, which came in as a text file. When I browse to the folder and select it, Power Query automatically recognizes the delimiter. In this case, the file uses a single pipe character as a separator. Power Query detects that and instantly splits the data into separate columns for me. So even though the file came in a different format, Power Query does the heavy lifting for me. I'll head back to the May sales data to align the column headers. I know the correct names are date, region, product, units, and revenue. So I'll make sure each table matches this naming convention. That way, when I append the tables together, Power Query knows exactly how to line up the columns. Once all the tables have clean headers and consistent names, I'll be ready to append them into one complete dataset. Now that we've cleaned and prepared each source, it's time to bring them all together into one single dataset. To do this, select Append Queries as New under the Home tab. This opens a window asking me how many tables I want to append. Since I'm working with more than 3, I'll switch the option to 3 or more tables. Now I can choose the tables I want to combine. Because I started this process while the June table was already selected, Power Query automatically includes June to the list. Once I confirm, Power Query will stack all these tables on top of each other as one new query, giving us a consolidated dataset covering all the months. And finally, we simply have to rename that. At this point, we can close and load this dataset to an Excel sheet. Once that's completed, the Queries and Connections pane will give you a preview of the tables loaded into this file and the number of rows associated with each table. We can close that for now. And since our data is consolidated into one sheet, we can go ahead to hide the rest of the sheets. Now, let's see how this process fits into a typical data analysis workflow. I'll go ahead and insert a pivot table. In the fields list, I'll drag my date into the rows section and the revenue into the value section. Right away, we can see our data runs from January through July. I'll insert a pivot chart from this pivot table and apply some quick formatting just to make things easier to interpret visually. But here's the real power of this workflow. I've just received August sales data. It came in as a separate CSV file. Instead of manually redoing all those steps, all I need to do is drop the August file into my CSV folder. Now, when I come back to this Excel file, I simply click refresh. And just like that, August data appears automatically both in my pivot table and my pivot chart. This demonstrates the full journey from collecting data from multiple sources to cleaning and preparing it in Power Query to finally loading and analyzing it seamlessly in Excel. And the best part is, this entire workflow is automated. If you ever felt stuck copying and pasting data from different files, I hope this tutorial showed you there's a much better way. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next tutorial. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.